At last, an open mind.
Thank you very much. Now, are there any other Liberal Democrats that would like to speak in this debate before we go on to the seconders? Anybody from any other party? No? Okay. In that case, we're going to go to Councillor McLaughlin, who is the seconder for the original motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to also add my congratulations to my colleagues, Councillor Brightwell, made the contributions, excellent contributions. I'm sure we'll be doing much more from them in the future. Mr Mayor, the issue around the Liberal Democrat amendment is that I can't see how your proposals are in any way sustainable. You've got the council tax freeze grant in there. We've already had a long discussion about how unsustainable that is in terms of it being a one-off and not being able to be built into the base budget, and therefore we're leaving us with a hole in the budget with a £1.3 million savings to find in 15-16. In terms of your proposal on councillor cuts, there's no cost, there's no timing, there's no detail. Councillor Brickhouse spoke about half-baked ideas. Well, frankly, I find a lot of your budget proposals impenetrable. It's not clear how you will sustain the services you propose because there's no detail there. But I will pick up on a couple of things that have been mentioned. The uncapped severance scheme will make the likelihood of compulsory redundancies in this authority, something which we would want to avoid at all costs. Your proposals, Tom, on day service and the consultation, we've already said tonight that we're going to enter a 3-month consultation period. During that time, any figures, any facts, any issues that are brought forward will be carefully examined and looked at. But I'll tell you something, Tom, it'll be better and more meaningful than the consultation that you didn't do on 5 care homes when you signed up with the Tories to close them. Mr Mayor, the council tax increase that we're proposing, as I've said, will protect pensioners, and we will be using will protect the pensioner discount that we currently have, and we will be using the balance to improve services and those services to the vulnerable where needed. I think you're right, Mark, when you say there's little that differentiates us. I think there is a mood and a feeling in the whole chamber that we need to make, there's no doubt about it. It's there, it's the elephant in the room. We need to make these massive cuts. However, I do agree with you. I think when we work together and when we set an example, we can show the people of Wirral that we can do good business and do good service to them. But Mr Mayor, as I've said, the Labour budget is a budget to protect as far as we can. We don't make any apology for the services that we are going to be saving. They are services that we believe are frontline and will protect the vulnerable. Our children's centres, our one-stop shops and libraries, and our £1 million in young people in the youth zone, and £300 into child poverty projects, and of course priding ourselves on being a living wage employer. Mr Mayor, I am asking Council to reject the Liberal Democrat amendment, and I'm urging Council to vote for the Labour. Thank you.
Councillor Stuart Kelly.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before I start, I'd also like to thank Councillors, to congratulate Councillors Leach, Whitemore and Norbury on their maiden speech. But I would say to them, and I would say to other Labour councillors, that the fact is that 2/3 of the council's budget problems this year are entirely homemade, due to years of effective mismanagement and accumulation of what the Director of Finance has dubbed bad budgets. The administration has taken to describing this as unfunded demographic growth, but it amounts to the same thing. We are having to take money out of one part of the council to shore up poor budgets in other parts of the council. Something that used to be called lobbing Peter to pay Paul. None of this has anything whatsoever to do with reductions that we're also having to manage in government grants. That's real enough and astray. But the extent of the council's own liability is overwhelming and plain for all to see. And the fact is that in robbing Peter to pay Paul, Labour has got the balance totally wrong, keeping cuts and reductions on the most vulnerable in society. In contrast, our submission aims to protect those areas which have an impact on people and communities the most. If our amendment passes, it will ensure, firstly, that no day centre will have to close. Labour's budget unamended will close a day centre, with Morton, Heswell or Eastham under threat. Secondly, no youth club will have to close. Labour's budget unamended will close 11 youth centres and replace them with so-called hubs. We've heard from young people this evening. They don't want hubs, they want localised provision. Thirdly, the garden tax will be cancelled. Labour's budget, unamended, will charge for collection of green waste, the first charge in Wirral for collection of a waste stream. Fourthly, grants to voluntary and community groups will continue. Labour's budget, unamended, will slash grants we give to organisations like the CAB, whose work is vital advising people, particularly in areas of welfare rights. And finally, it will ensure no rise in council tax. Raising council tax has a disproportionate impact on people on low incomes. Mr Mayor, let me return to two areas. The issue of the day centres. I agree with what Brenda Hall said. Why can't Labour at least afford the same respect and rights to further discussion and debate, to explore options with those vulnerable people, their carers and champions, that they have afforded to the dog show?
Yes.
Mr Mayor, they have prepared a decision on closing Begnet Dog Kennel for 12 months. They've given Heswell, Morton and Eastham 3 months. They should at least be given the same opportunity. Mr Mayor, return to the issue of the garden tax. Labour's proposal to introduce a charge on a domestic waste stream. This charge will discourage recycling. I'm particularly disappointed as the sponsor of an e-petition on the subject, which attracted over 200 responses. Mostly opposed, and the consultation itself resulted in a majority opposed to charges for bin collections. Shouldn't be too surprised, however. After all, 4 council officers, all involved in recycling and waste collection services, felt bold enough to add their name in opposition to my petition. Their minds were made up from the beginning. The consultation was to be ignored, and the consultation has been ignored. I was told it was a mistake, that somehow they'd logged on, obtained a passcode, and then signed their names to my position in error. I'll let members of the public and those forced now to pay this new tax to make up their own minds about the openness and transparency now that they know the facts. In conclusion, Mr Mayor, Councillor Fowkes and other Labour councillors taunted us earlier for voting with the Conservatives and voting for their amendment. Let me tell him why. It's quite simple. Because it would have saved the day centres. Let me further tell him that we will use our vote to block Labour on this any opportunity we get. We're not in a tribal position of not wanting to vote with people to do what is right. For those people in the public gallery who are afraid for the future and care about the people that are attending these centres, can the same be said to Labour councillors? I urge them to do the same.
Thank you very much. Now, Councillor Horney, do you wish to exercise your right of reply?
I think there's a strong view and therefore
Okay, so thank you, Councillor Horney. That brings us to Phil, Councillor Davis, who I'm sure will wish to exercise his right.
yeah, very briefly. I mean, what always amazes me about the Liberal Democrats is their attempt to try and distance themselves from the government that they're members of. As if somehow there is another party. I'm afraid the Liberal Democrats are part of this coalition government. And it's guilt by association, I'm afraid, Stuart, and the rest of you. And there's no question, there's no question, Mr Mayor, that the vast majority of the cuts that we're facing tonight should be laid at the door this Tory Liberal Democrat. I just asked Stuart and his colleagues just to read the reports of the financial experts. They're very clear. They're very clear. And it's not 66%, Stuart. So I just hope you would go back and look at that. Clearly, the Liberal Democrat amendment, I mean, I just don't see how it adds up. I really struggle to see how it does add up. But I take the word of the interim director of finance that it is legal and sustainable, but I struggle to see how it actually adds up. Council tax bribe, we've covered before, it's not added to the base budget. Can I just say to Councillor Brickhouse, he is absolutely dead wrong to say we're not doing anything on shared services. Alan, you really are wide of the mark there, and I'm happy to have a separate meeting with you, but I can assure you our Chief Executive and our officers are working very hard with our colleagues in Merseyside and Cheshire and Chester to explore the opportunities for shared services, and I just hope that you will pay attention to the proposals we'll be bringing to Cabinet very soon on a programme of shared services which will yield significant savings. So I'm sorry you've kind of missed the point on that. On the cost of democracy, of course, it's easy for the Liberal Democrats to talk about cutting 6 councillors when they're a disappearing force on this council. However, I would point out that we in our budget had a figure of 275,000 for reducing the cost of democracy, going to all-out elections, which I know you voted against, and also reducing the number of meetings. My response to Mark, I think my argument would be, actually, given and we talked about it before, my argument would be, given that we are in this climate of swinging cuts, I think the role of elected members is even more important, actually. And I speak in favour of all elected members, not just my group, because we will have to play that role of working with our communities, fostering community resilience, to use Councillor Green's words, looking for new funding streams. So I actually think there is a case, an even more compelling case, for the role of democratically elected members. That would be my position. So I would conclude by saying, Mr. Mayor, that I believe. I just want to say the kennel service. Stuart, you said that we've reprieved them for 12 months. We've given them exactly the same assurance as we talked about the day centres. There will be a 3-month. There will be a 3-month. There will be a 3-month period where they have an opportunity to come forward with an alternative. 3 months. But the bottom line is we will need to make the saving. We will need to make the saving, and they're not of the same order of magnitude of savings if you look at the figures in the budget. So, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe that the Liberal Democrat amendment, though I'm sure well intended, does add up. I don't support the recommendations, and I don't accept, and I think it's frankly a bit of a cheat for the Liberal Democrats to try and distance themselves from what their party is doing in league with the Conservatives nationally. So I would urge Council to reject the Liberal Democrat amendment, and I would hope that our budget will go through. Thank you, Mr.
At the end of the debate, then, so we're simple motion now of a vote on the Liberal Democrat amendment. Those in favour of the amendment? Not to the amendment. 7. Those against the amendment? I think he's lost, I'm afraid, Liberal Democrats. Just. That's the end now. The Director of Law tells me. The Director of Law tells me that having lost those 2 amendments, the main motion is deemed to be carried. Is that correct? Oh yes, that's right. Oh, you just pointed one out. But because the part referring to the Director of Finance's council tax report, and that's number 2, isn't it? That needs to be a separate vote. Okay. So those in favour of 6C, okay? you are...
Because I think I see the merit of this briefing. Are we now being asked to vote on whether we agree that the council tax should be 2%?
The Director of Law, that is it, isn't it? Yeah. That's it. So do you all understand now that we're just now voting on 6C? You're either in favour of the Cabinet's recommendation or not. Okay? Those in favour of the recommendation, those for the recommendation. Let's just have those against. So it's carried 37 to 27. So yes, Councillor Green.
I have found this an incredibly bizarre debate, the way, the Deputy Leader of the Council came in as that it just all seemed really strange. And this latest one about not focusing on the Cabinet's proposals, but focusing on the result of heaven knows what happened with that hand of carry. So I do hope they'll have an opportunity to look at this whole process again, to get it right, and for us, and also for the couple of good things like the.
Well, Councillor, I can only say on that we did on the 11th of February at Council agree to this procedure. Well, did we?
Listen now, for the avoidance of doubt, this is clearly a new procedure that we've gone through tonight, but with respect to the Director of Law, it is in line with our Constitution, so I place no blame at Surgeon's door. I would be happy with the other two party leaders to review the procedure and to look at how we can improve it for this year. So just a few.
Yes, please do.
Just say one final thing. We've got our new strategic director, Joe Root, here tonight. I'd just like to welcome you to the council chamber. I hope we have to do a lot. I hope we haven't put you off, Joe. So I just welcome you to the meeting.
I noticed the colleague were holding him down, stopping him from escaping. So, can I just say now at the end of that, some of the people leaving the balcony, I would just like to say thank you to those of you in the gallery, because this is your council, and these matters relate to you, and I thought you were extremely well behaved, especially in comparison with some of the councillors. And also, I do have a word of apology, because I have had a message passed to me saying that the person who I couldn't see behind the thing, but I told to be paraphrased in a rather sharp voice, was a severely disabled person who had now left. And I wouldn't have spoken that if I knew who I was talking to. So, rather belatedly, apology to that person. Apologies to all the councils, because we all shouted a bit, didn't we? Okay, we're going to just hopefully whiz through the rest of it. Has a 6D pay policy report, minute 66. Leader, are you going to recommend that be agreed? That's agreed. Good. Not a lot on this debate. Councillor, item 6E, devolution of major transport schemes funding and Department of Transport. Minute 210. Agreed. Come back to Councillor Green. 6F, statutory scrutiny officer. That's a change over to Fiona Johnson to become our scrutiny officer. Agreed? Right. 7 we've done already. 8 is the allocation of committee places and vacancies to give consideration the report of the director. You will provide names for the various items. Any other urgent business? No. So, members, thank you very much. I think you behaved very well, most of you. That's the end of the proceedings. Thank you.
Start taking on a bit.
I need to stop it first, Otherwise our entire conversation gets